I know it's made in China, so just get over that. The important thing is that it made it from China to here, all in one piece, essentially. They do use thick cardboard on these boxes. And everything seems to have stayed put in their bags and padded as they left the factory. Considering how far these things actually come, that still amazes me that they get here in one piece. For some reason, I always take the cowl out first and unwrap that. And I'd be happy to see that there was no dings or cracks or anything in this one. Looks like it's been pretty well made with nice panel lines and a good clean coat of paint. The next big challenge for this cowl is going to be seeing how much of the DA50 can keep inside. I've been a tech-based writer for a lot of years, and instruction manuals like this one show me that they pretty much don't care about instruction manuals. I've always wondered how a 0 can be a number 21 all in the same name. But read the warning above it, and it starts making sense. Okay, that doesn't make any sense either, but I understand more now. Getting a new plane in the shop is always fun, but there's always that little bit of worry about did something get broken or lost on its way here from China or wherever it came from. I'm taking my ESM 0 out of the box and finding out that everything made it okay. The only exception was the plywood cowl ring that wasn't in the box. And I got a hold of Troy-Bilt and they say they have one of those on its way to me now. Most of the pieces seem to be bagged up in pretty logical groups. Though with what they call instructions that came with this plane, there's going to be some hunting around for parts anyway and trying to match things up to what we see in the diagrams. It really helps to have built several planes before you tackle something like this. Unwrapping the canopy here, I found out that it does have a little split in the back, but that seems to stop before it gets to the part that'll remain after it's trimmed. I'll set this aside and make sure it doesn't get beat up anymore before we trim it for putting it on. This apparently is the bunch of little wooden things bag. The big pieces are the gear doors, but I think the rest of them are blocks for mounting servos and the blocks for the fixed landing gear that this kit comes with that nobody uses. Here we have a bag that has the fuel tank and wheels that we're not going to use, along with a smaller bag that has all the ends for the control rods. And here I found the rudder floating around in the box, and also we found the wheel wells for the retracts that I am going to put in. I see the manual shows trimming these, but they don't say to trim to where, so we're going to have to kind of work that out with what we find in the wing. And here we found the horizontal stabs with the elevators attached. These all have to be hinged later. And the horizontal stabilizers on this plane are glued on, they're not removable. And all that's left in the box now is the wings and fuselage, and all of that appears to have made it just fine. The fuselage was bagged and wrapped in this foam, and I couldn't find any blemishes on the finish at all, so it made it in fine shape. And this is just how it comes out of the bag with all the markings in place. I like that. And right in here is I was realizing that it didn't have the cowl ring, but you can still slip the cowl on and get an idea for how it looks anyway. And right in here is where I was finding out that their idea of the hinges being ready to be installed is a little different than mine is. They gave me 2 little pin hinges for this, but I'm going to replace those with some heavy-duty Dubro flat hinges. They sort of missed on this hole anyway. But other than that, the rudder looks real nice anyway. And this hinging thing really is a little problem, all things considered. With all the laser and CNC work we see coming out of the Far East, they leave drilling the incidence pins up to us on these models. They do give us a nice template, so we shouldn't get this messed up. It's just another little step we have to do. And this is the cavity we have to work in for the mount the tail wheel, the rudder, and the elevator assemblies. I think this is going to look different when we get all that hardware and 3 sets of pull cables in here. This is the forward bay of the fuselage where we put all the radio and the fuel tank and stuff. And we can see right here that they're encouraging us to put everything as far forward as we possibly can. It's a warbird and it's probably going to come out tail heavy, but we're going to do everything we can to defeat that. I was impressed to see that they got a real firewall in this thing. I was wondering if I was going to have to reinforce this to put the DA50 on it, but it should be fine. Here's the bottom of the wing panel. You can see that they got the doors for the servos for the ailerons and flaps. When I was reading up about this plane, I thought the CA hinges they mentioned might have been a misprint, but no, they weren't. There they are. And no, they won't be there when I fly this thing. And this model has split flaps like the original, so you can't see them from above. Some people think the plane flies better with flaps like this. We'll see. And like the fuselage, they've got the markings already on the wings. And like the fuselage, all the markings and the coverings seem to be in very good shape on this plane. All of the flying surfaces are built up and they look pretty well done. During construction, we joined the wing halves with the plywood spar. There's no provision for having separate wings. I've seen people on some of the forums saying that this is really an 81-inch airplane. Well, mine must have swelled up a whole bunch because it matches the 88-inch that they say in the manual and on the site. And here's the first day mock-up that I always do to give myself a feel for how big the plane actually is. And I'm liking this one. It's pretty good size. Along with the CA hinges, there's a few other things that I'm going to change as well. I have to use most of the steel for the elevator, rudder, and tail wheel hardware, but all these steel push rods are gone. I'm going to use carbon fiber push rods and save myself a little bit of weight. I kept looking at these pull-pull control horns and the steel cable and the lack of ball links in the kit, and I was wondering how they attach these. And then I saw this and I nearly pooped myself. Anybody that flies a plane with a steel cable just looped through the control arm like this is an idiot. Mine will have all nice ball links like you're supposed to have here. And we're going to be doing a review inside of a review. A friend of mine's been using these EPO grip epoxies and he likes the way they work. Aside from being really strong, one of their hallmarks is that they're really thick so they stay where you put them. And we'll get into the different kinds of these epoxies as we go along in this build. So sit back and follow along, because I think this is going to be a fun one.